All right, everybody. We're doing a watch review. Haven't done one of those in a while. And a little bit of a history lesson as well. So I went and got a legit moon watch. So everybody's always familiar with by the way, hit like and subscribe, make a comment. If I say something wrong and I get a detail wrong, it's okay. I'm not a watch aficionado. So you commenting and want to set me straight, fine. If you're gonna be snotty about it, it's no different than when someone says, "Oh, I got a 15-round mag or a clip in my gun," and that person jumps in to remind you that it's not a clip, it's a magazine. Anyway, same kind of thing. But do as you will. So, when people think of the moon watch, they think of this one. Now, this is a homage. I'm not spending $5,000 to $60,000. $5,000, $5,200 on the low end for an Omega Speedmaster. So I have the Pagani version of the Moonwatch. And I've got a review of it. You can go read about it. I'll go watch that. It does use a quartz movement from Seiko. I don't know if it's an AH35 or something like that, but it's a not exact copy, homage, tribute band version, but it's a pretty close version of the Omega Speedmaster. And the Speedmaster's famous. It is iconic, it's up there with the Rolex, what's the Rolex everybody goes for? Submariner, things like that. It is every bit as iconic. It is an icon in the watch world. It's excellent. I just can't afford to spend $5,000 to $60,000 on something like a watch. And that one is really famous because it went to the moon with Apollo 11, I believe it was. And, there was a couple watch companies that competed for the contract with NASA to outfit all of their astronauts, everybody who went up into space. Why? You need a really good, accurate, reliable timepiece that could work in, zero gravity and even in a vacuum and things like that. Why? Because they didn't have computers timing everything. Right? I remember back then, a computer was bigger than my house and had less processing power than a modern calculator. And so you had to have, firing of rockets and timing things and thrusters and how much oxygen you had left. You needed to accurately record time. And so they put out a contract, a bid, and said these are what our design requirements are. And a couple watch companies competed, and Bulova didn't win. Omega did. Now, Bulova did go on to do other things and that's what we're going to talk about here, with NASA and the space program, with some of the clocks and instrumentation actually in the capsules and the space modules. But as far as the watches that were issued on the wrist of the these astronauts, they had the Omega Speedmasters. And so the Omega Speedmaster on July 21st, 1969, made its debut going out on the moon. So fast forward a couple years, and Apollo 15's there, and an astronaut by the name of David Scott had his Omega Speedmaster, and it broke. The crystal popped off, I guess, in the capsule. And so he had a prototype of the Bulova version that had competed for the contract but lost. They were allowed, I guess you're allowed to carry a certain amount of pounds of personal belongings on the missions with you, and he brought his Bulova version of, and you'll notice they look similar. Well, they were competing for the same contract with the same design criteria, so they came up with something that looked fairly similar to each other. And so this became the second watch to go on the moon because his Omega broke and failed. So he strapped this onto the wrist of his outside of his spacesuit, was out on the moon doing his stuff, came back, kept it in his private collection, and I think it was 2016. I don't know, I guess he was probably gone by then, but his family auctioned it off. Someone auctioned it off from his collection, and it sold for $1.625 million at auction. And so Bulova said, let's reissue this. Let's go ahead and reissue it. So it had a couple different versions. The difference is this is not a $5,000 to $60,000 watch. This is a $350 to $1,000 watch. Bulova's a good company. They've been around since 1875. They've been bought and sold a couple times. They're now currently owned by, I believe Citizen owns them. but they were started in America from a Bohemian immigrant, and they've got a nice product. So they've had some really cool innovations. We'll get into the movement on this, which is actually similar to, it's the precision movement that I have in my Precisionist. We'll talk about that, and where in some ways I think it's a better watch than if I'd gotten the actual Omega. We'll explain why. So this is a 40, I think this is a 43.5. It's a little bit of a big boy. And I'm fine with that. I like the bigger watches on a wrist my size. I'm not a small guy, so I tend to like these bigger watches. And what we have here is sapphire crystal. It does sit up proud, so, you know, it'll resist scratches, but you want to be able, you don't want to drop it on something because it's not a recessed crown like you might have on some other watches. It's going to hit first and you could chip or crack it. It's only, I think, only 50-meter water resistance. So the water resistance is the one thing that's kind of not all that awesome. But you know, if you just get rained on or you just got to rinse it off in the sink real quick, it'll be fine. But don't go diving with it. Don't go jumping into the pool or jet skiing or things like that. So this on the back has some information there. It's talking about how it was Apollo 15, July 28, 1971 to August 7th, 1971. Very, very cool. Got the rest of the model numbers and 50-meter water resistance and stuff. Now, what's cool about this is it is a chronograph. It also uses their 266 kilohertz, I believe, crystal. This is an amazing crystal. At one time, Bulova back then was the most accurate watch in the world. I think they were the first electronic or something like that. They got a couple cool things to their name. I'll put some links to some reading. I'm not going to give you a whole giant history lesson here, just kind of setting the stage for this. But you've got a anti-reflective coating on a sapphire crystal. Let me wipe the fingerprints and stuff off it. Nice brushed case. Let's go ahead and pop that out. And we'll go and set the date and stuff in a little bit. I'm not going to make you watch that. Let's see. Got a nice click. This is good. That'll work with gloves. If I got motorcycle gloves and stuff. You've got 1/10 of a second on that dial. Notice the big hand. Notice it's a nice smooth sweep. This is a really nice movement, and this is what I like about the Precisionist. So I've got another one that's got the 266 kilohertz. These things are crystal, so they're going to be very reliable, long-lasting, change the battery out every 2-3 years. These are rated for accuracy, plus or minus, within 10 seconds per year. Your Breitlings, your Rolexes, the only thing I think that's up there that accurate that's a mechanical is a Grand Seiko. I think they have some that are rated for 10 seconds a year. Most are within 5 to 15 seconds, depending on the brand, per month. These are 10 seconds per year. This is as accurate as if your smartphone or your smartwatch, your Apple Watch wasn't connected to to Wi-Fi to get a signal from somewhere, I don't know that it would be that accurate, right? These are incredibly accurate. Phenomenally so. So you've got a chronograph, you've got these little levers here, which are nice. There's a tactile feel. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a click there. Very nice and comfortable. You could operate that with a glove on easily. Second hand, nice and smooth, and you'll notice that here. So these things, the crystal operates at a frequency that I think is 8 times greater or something like that than normal crystals. But look at the second hand. Look how smooth it is. Hopefully with 30 frames a second on the video, it won't make it. Probably should have done 60 frames a second. It would show it maybe smoother. But it is beautiful. You can barely notice any of the little micro movements. For all intents and purposes, when you glance at that, it is a nice, smooth, sweeping second hand. Very, very nice. This one's also very thin. Go check this one out. These are just under $300. Phenomenal watch. So I like this style. There's something about the 70s styles. I got this Citizen that's an Eco Drive. I don't even remember the model of it. It might be one of the Weekenders or something, but it's again a 70s style. For some reason, maybe it's because I was born in 72. There's something about them that looks retro enough, but they look, in the same way, they look classy. this is one of my favorite watches, and I think this is going to be my favorite daily driver. I love the 70s style watches, that less round. This is going to be a little bit more classic, although I don't know what you would call it. But that sort of weird egg-shaped, kind of taller than it is narrow, but it's not square. It's a round dial, but there's something about it that just, I don't know, to me just looks very classy. When you see watches like this or these, yeah, they're nice. And if you know, you know what an Omega is, you might look at that and go, okay, that's an Omega. Then you look really close and you're like, it's not quite an Omega. He bought the $100 one. But when you see something like that, that's something that I think people will notice on your wrist. So it does come with a nice, comfortable, it's leather on that side and like a carbon fiber-ish weave on the other. It's a little thick. I'm going to need to kind of bend it and break it in. Sits really comfortably. That's what it looks like on the wrist. Feels really good. And it also comes with a strap tool. So there is a tool in here for changing out the strap. So I'm assuming it's going to be under that. Yep, nice, good precision tool. That's nice. I like that they include that. Nice precision tool, kind of sharp, so you want to put the cap on that so you don't accidentally stab yourself. That goes in the toolbox. I like that they actually have a nice knurling on that so you can grip it properly. And then it gives you the NATO style strap. That has, I guess, the information. It's a mil spec. I mean, it's a mil spec watch. This was made to what NASA was requiring. So I think I'll probably keep this one, although this looks really comfortable. And if I was going to be riding or getting wet in the rain, I feel like this one might be actually better. I'll try it with the NATO strap. I kind of like that. I mean, it goes with that whole retro vibe of having that information on there. And that's like a leather that's sewn to it. Nice brushed metal. Looks really damn good. So I guess, what is that? That's going to hook on the watch like that. And then, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. I've never used one of these before, so I'm probably going to have to watch a freaking video. But in the box, and I will say this box comes with really nice, these are like leather. Maybe it's pleather. I don't know. Underneath, you got all your warranty and your books and card and all that other kind of stuff, certificate of authenticity. And when I got it, this box is freaking heavy. It's not like wood, but I don't know what it is, but that is like, I feel like that box could take a freaking hit. Came very well padded. I mean, that might be wood or really dense plastic. This thing weighs almost a damn pound. I would say that weighs easily a pound. Wish I had a scale here to measure it. But it's a really neat watch. Bulova makes really nice stuff. You can spend as little as like $200-ish for a Bulova watch, or you could buy their, $4,000 watches or whatever. I mean, they've got, like a lot of watch brands. I wouldn't call them necessarily a luxury brand, even though some of them price-wise do get up into that range of Tag, Tudor, low-end Rolexes, low-end Omegas, Grand Seikos. I mean, Grand Seikos start at like $3,800. Those are considered luxury brands. So certainly you could spend luxury brand money, but as a brand, I don't know the difference. I think having a brand that starts low and goes high, Casio goes up to $6,000. And there's special editions you could pay way more for gold and stuff like that. But they'll sell you G-Shocks right on their website for $6,000. But Casio is not a luxury brand, even though they have luxury prices. I think to be a luxury brand, you have to have that high quality, but it's not a range that starts low and goes high. It's a brand that starts high and goes stupid high. Maybe that's the difference, right? But that is absolutely gorgeous on my wrist. I just got to break in that strap, just get it to soften up and mold to my wrist a little bit more so it's not stiff and, kind of sticking out. But I think me just kind of maybe sitting here, it is really soft and squishy. And it is pliable. I think it's just going to have to break in a little bit. So we'll do that. I do like the idea of this one, giving it more of that military field watch kind of look. Although this does look a little dressier, but it's not so much that you wouldn't, it would look out of place wearing it casually. That is just a gorgeous ass watch, man. So I had to go set the time, set the date. So what do you have here? You've got some really nice high contrast hands because, again, they needed to be able to tell in low and whatever different lighting conditions, they wanted high contrast. I have some other watches that are nice, like field watches, like Timex, but they're not, you kind of, there's so much going on. Even though this is busy, everything is very well lit as far as being able to see white on black and make everything out at a glance. Let's do this real quick. And so the lume, it's pretty bright. You know, how long it lasts, I don't know, but Bulova's known to have pretty good lume. I like that it's kind of a cool blue color. That's kind of neat. You've got your date down at the 4 o'clock position. And then you've got 10th of a second. The second hand is for your stopwatch. You got 60 minutes over here. And then you have your sweeping second hand that goes with the regular clock down there. So I'm going to take this bad boy off and go set the date and time. What I also heard, which was kind of cool, is this a screw down bezel? No, it is not, but it's only a 50-meter water resistance. This was made to go to space, not under the sea. So yeah, I guess you don't need that kind of water resistance up in space. But what I did read was that, you know, some watches, if your second hand isn't perfectly aligning with the minutes, these, you can pull this out and use these buttons to adjust it and get it to line up perfect. It moves in like 1/16 of a minute increments or something crazy like that. So mine came perfectly aligned out of the box. And that is just a gorgeous freaking watch, man. I love, let's see if we can get some focus in on some details on the side. Stupid iPhone sucks at close-up stuff with video. I really need to start using my Google Pixel Fold for these videos. It's so much better at video. This takes better camera pictures. Well, no, actually the Pixel takes better pictures too. For action video, the iPhone's better. But if you're doing like this kind of video, the iPhone really struggles to zoom in. I gotta try to get it to, let's see if I hold it like this and tap the screen. Can I get it to do it? I don't know. Here's what it is. Stupid Apple. But it is a beautiful watch. It's just the right size. Some people complain because I think the first revision of this that came out was like a, I think it was like a 45 mil, which again, that's about the biggest I'd want to go, but I'm fine with that. And people's like, oh, it's too big for, you know, hobbits and people with small hands. So they're like, all right, fine, we'll come out with a 43.5. That's perfect. When I go for like smartwatches, well, when I used to go for I'll never buy another one. But I would always go for the Galaxy, whatever, the 44 or the 46. I wouldn't go for the 38 or the 40. I would always go for the larger one. And that is right in there. That is perfect for I've got a 7 1/3 inch, just over 7 1/4, 7.3, something like that last time I measured it. So that is just perfect. That sits on my wrist really nice. We'll break in that band, set it up. I'll see if I can figure out how to mount this stupid thing. I mean, it should be fairly straightforward, I think. It's going to be like that side, maybe like that. I don't know. I literally have never used one of these, so I'm going to have to go watch a damn video to find out how to put that on. But this one looks really good. I like that carbon fiber weave. And then the soft leather underneath, it's nice and comfortable. And actually, this might be better for me. Now, normally, I'm not always crazy about the leather bands because I'm always like, well, what if I get them wet and then they get kind of nasty and stuff like that? But here, it's not going to discolor it. I mean, the outside does seem like it's some sort of rubbery or some kind of synthetic material. This carbon fiber weave is going to be something synthetic. And so I don't think I need to worry about discoloration or anything. And it's black underneath, so it's not going to really discolor, and it's underneath. So I may actually keep that strap and not use this. I just was curious how it would actually look and work. It does look like that would be really comfortable. But, if you've got super big wrists, I do feel a little bit of points here. When you look there, they're not sharp, but they're a little stabby. So if that didn't follow the curve of my wrist very well, if you had like really big wrists where instead of coming off the side like that, it was more like that, you might feel that little bit of pressure of those points pushing in. I mean, I'm pushing into my wrist, it doesn't feel uncomfortable, but when you hold it this way, you almost feel like it would. But I love that tuning fork. I love that they did, something on the back. This one's a little cartoonish and goofy, but I do like that they did something It's a nice screw-on back. This should be an absolutely fantastic watch. And I will probably be wearing this more than these two are the ones I wear the most. And then my Citizen Pro Dive Master, the all metal one. But if I'm going a little more cash, as the kids say, I tend to wear these two the most. This one's going to bump up in the rotation for sure. So there you have it. The number 2, I know if you're not first, you're last. But the company that won the NASA contract, that watch, the Omega Speedmaster on Apollo 15, broke. And it was his backup that became the second watch on the moon. And it's the one that sold for $1.625 million. So this has a pretty damn rich history, an interesting story. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a link to the story in the description. But you got any questions, let me know. But this thing, I'll put the link to Amazon. This one, which came in this really nice box with both straps, was under $400. That is a lot of watch for the money. That is a nice quality, interesting history, nice conversation piece, and a really good, accurate timepiece. So that I think would look good on anybody's wrists. There you have it. That's a long one for today, but we had to go through a little bit of the history lesson. The second watch on the moon, Bulova.